Hello, and welcome back to the podcast that must not be named. I am Luke,
I'm Melissa.
and we are here on our 5 chap recap for Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, chapters 21 through 25. We're going to be covering the House Elf Liberation Front, the Unexpected Task, the Yule Ball, Rita Skeeter's Scoop, and the Egg and the Eye. Oh, special guest, please give us that recap. Edit here. Oh, oh. I need to unmute you. Let's try that again. Melissa, just say, I'm Melissa.
After Harry's success in the first task, Fred and George throw a surprise party for him in the Gryffindor common room. At the encouragement of his fellow housemates, Harry opens the golden egg clue and a piercing wail breaks out, making some people think that Harry's next task will involve him fighting off a dangerous monster or a curse. In Care of Magical Creatures class, Rita Skeeter appears and she and Hagrid schedule an interview for a later date. Hermione pulls Harry and Ron into coming with her to the kitchens, where the trio run into Dobby and Winky, now working amongst the Hogwarts house elves. Dobby is delighted at his new placement. Winky, however, is quite miserable and is worried about the well-being of Mr. Crouch. She refuses to tell the trio Mr. Crouch's secrets, only that he believes Ludo Bagman to be a very bad man. Professor McGonagall informs the Gryffindors about the Yule Ball on Christmas Day, and tells Harry that he must find a date, because champions are expected to open the dance. Harry and Ron keep putting off trying to find partners out of nervousness, until they both decide that they have to grit their teeth and just do it. Harry asks Cho Chang, but she politely declines because she is already attending the ball with Cedric Diggory. Ron accosts Fleur Delacour in a corridor, screaming at her and asking her to the ball. As Ron is shell-shocked and Hermione insists that someone has already asked her to the ball, Harry seeks out Pavati Patel and sets up dates for him and Ron with her and her sister, Padma Patel. After some Christmas celebrations, Harry and Ron meet their dates at the ball. At first, Harry doesn't recognise that Hermione's attending the ball with Victor Crumb because she looks so different. At the ball, Harry talks to Percy, who is attending in the place of Barty Crouch, who is frequently absent from work. Harry also sees Fred and George trying to talk to Ludo Bagman, who slips away, and Ron and Hermione having a row about her attendance to the ball with Victor Crumb. Ron and Harry walk through the gardens, where they overhear Igor Karkaroff and Snape having a suspicious conversation, as well as Hagrid divulging to Madame Maxime that he is half-giant. At the end of the night, Cedric tells Harry that he should take his golden egg to the prefect's bathroom and mull things over in the hot water. Harry returns to the common room to find Hermione and Ron having a very loud fight. Rita Skeeter publishes a feature in the Daily Prophet about Hagrid being a half-giant, and, ashamed, Hagrid stops teaching and doesn't leave his hut. The trio run into Ludo Bagman at the Three Broomsticks, who is acting suspiciously with a group of goblins and tries to help Harry cheat in the tournament. They also run into Rita Skeeter, and Harry and Hermione express their anger at her. The trio confront Hagrid, who is meeting with Dumbledore in his hut. The kids and Dumbledore reassure Hagrid that they still like him, and convince him to return to teaching. Starting to feel nervous and guilty that he hasn't gotten anywhere with the egg clue, Harry decides to follow Cedric's advice and goes to the prefect's bathroom at night under the invisibility cloak. With the unwelcome help of Moaning Myrtle, Harry discovers that underwater the egg screeches a song and deduces that the next task will involve him having to go into the Black Lake and confront merpeople. On his way back to his common room, Harry notices the name Barty Crouch looking through Snape's office on the Marauder's map and decides to investigate. On his way there, he trips and drops his egg, causing Filch, Snape, and eventually Mad-Eye Moody to search for the cause of the disturbance. Moody's magical eye spots Harry under his cloak, but Moody doesn't reveal to the other two men that Harry is there. Moody then de-escalates the situation so that Filch and Snape eventually leave, saving Harry from a harsh punishment. Harry explains to Mad-Eye Moody that he saw Mr. Crouch on the Marauder's map, and Moody suggests that Mr. Crouch is obsessed with finding dark wizards. Moody then asks if he can borrow the map off Harry for a while, and Harry, feeling like he definitely owes Moody a debt, agrees.
As always, for these 5 chap recaps, we are joined by our target audience perspective, Lorelai. Welcome back. Hello. Did you read all these chapters?
Of course.
Thumbs up, thumbs down, overall feelings? That's about a three-quarter up, I'd say, from what I'm seeing. So that's overall positive. So what are your big takeaways? What do you want to talk about first?
Well, I wanted to talk about of course, the star of the movie, of the book, Harry. And I Moody had to literally just explain the whole thing to Harry of how to get past the dragon, basically word by word.
So yeah, Moody kind of being a little blatant on his we'll call it advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think of that? Do you think that should qualify as cheating, or do you think he was justified in helping Harry?
It says no cheating, and no one else, well, probably everyone else besides the Hufflepuff there, who's the goody two shoes, because, we're awesome. Yeah. I forgot what I was gonna say.
So how do you think that applies then to Cedric later on in this section, telling Harry what to do with his egg?
He's helping him. Like he's he's
You think he's adequately returning the favor?
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. I just had a brain fart.
That's all right. So you think it's good of Cedric to do what he did? Do you think it was enough help for compared, like relative to what Harry told Cedric? Do you think it's equivalent?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah. Because he basically just told him what to do.
He told him to take a bath. Harry said, you have to get past dragons. And Cedric said, take a bath.
Well, he wanted to be cool about it. Because, Cedric's just cool like that. So, and he just wanted to, slide it in. Like, hey, should take a bath.
It's that simple.
With the egg.
With the
He did say that.
And he even let him use the prefect's bathroom. He gave him the code and everything. But Harry was like, no, I won't trust him. I don't trust him. I won't trust him. No, why would he do that to me? To be nice?
So, do you think Harry was justified in his, I'm not going to listen to Cedric thing and in waiting so long to use the prefix bathroom, or do you think he should have just
I think he should have not been like, oh, I don't trust him, and just been like, you know what? I'm just gonna try it out, see how it goes, and if that doesn't work, plan B. Not, I don't trust him, so I'm gonna do plan B before plan A.
So I had a question for you, just in general. I know we're kind of skipping around, not going in order, but that's okay. We talked about the prefix bathroom. When I read this again just recently, I was like, man, that sounds like a Lorelei bathroom.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So, did you appreciate the pool-size bathtub?
Yes, I loved it, and all the bubbles, love it.
But then, and this is really a question for you. How would you really swim with that many bubbles? I feel like that would be an issue.
You had to turn on the bubbles. You didn't have to turn on the bubbles. He just decided to turn on the bubbles. So have a swim practice, and then after, boom, turn on bubbles, sauna.
Excellent. Okay. Good answer.
Thank you.
So what did you think about Hermione in this section? Going to the kitchens, meeting the elves?
I really did think that she was just gonna, try and be like, you guys need to be free. But I like that she just brought Harry to see Dobby. That was cute. And I like the backstory of how Dobby's getting paid. I like that.
Why is that?
I don't know. Ever since book 2, yes, book 2, I've always wanted Dobby to have what he wanted, to have what he deserved. Because he's just different from the other one. And so he should show the other ones, like, hey, this is not that bad. I mean, you do what you're doing because you're fine. That's the way you want to live, and that's okay. but I'm cool with this.
So maybe a good role model to have around to say, you know what, maybe there is a different way for house elves to live and just be free elves.
Yeah.
I think that's a good sentiment. What did you think of the way Winky is handling her freedom?
I mean, I get it. Like, your master just kicked you out. That's not great. It's like a parent, kind of ish.
I mean, she's been there her whole life, is I guess what we can maybe assume, or at least long enough that, yeah, that's also her family, right?
Yeah. It's like your parents being like, I don't want you anymore, get out.
There's
And
no, you're
that's
grounded.
pretty
It's
rough.
here's some clothes, go live on your own.
Yeah, it's like a big oof right there. So I don't think she should just get just the way that she is right now in the kitchen and embarrassing herself. I think she should have been like, you know what? I don't need them. I am perfectly fine on my own. I have a job. It's great. I mean, yes, I miss them, and I can't believe they would do that, but that's a different story.
So it sounds like you're saying Winky needs some resilience, some grit.
Some
If you will.
empowerment.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
So what other big thoughts did you have about this section of chapters starting after the first task?
So, on Christmas Day, that Ron promised Dobby his red sweater. Well, I feel like Ron should have written to his mom, being like, "Hey, next year you should make one for the house elf Dobby, and I'll explain it when I get home for the summer." And then it would have been so cute that Miss Weasley made a present for Dobby, and that would be so adorable. But I know it'd be a lot of work, but she can just wand magic her way out of it.
What's one more sweater?
Yeah. She can just magic her way out of it. Fine.
So you think Dobby should get a Weasley sweater of his own?
Oh yes, since Harry has one, and I assume Hermione has one.
Wait, I've never thought of it.
It's never been mentioned.
Does Hermione get a Weasley sweater?
Well, she has been at the house.
Yes, but she has parents to give her own gifts. So I always assumed that Mrs. Weasley was making a sweater for Harry under the assumption that since he doesn't have parents to buy him gifts, that way he has something to open.
Oh yeah,
I'm not saying you're wrong. I just never thought about it.
It's never mentioned.
You don't know.
I've read them many times.
You don't know. It could be in J.K. Rowling's mind.
Oh, yeah, that's just as canon. Yep.
And it's probably 100% true, but she forgot to write it down.
It was not important to Harry's story.
Well, we're halfway through the books, so we'll keep an eye out if Hermione does in fact get a Weasley sweater. If she even survives the next couple books, who knows? No spoilers.
All right, so I want to ask you a question. Seeing as how we're just a few short weeks away from your very first dance in school. Notice her excitement, folks. How did you feel about the Yule Ball?
Oh, I hated it.
Lead up to the Yule Ball, the asking of the dates to the Yule Ball, the ball itself.
I hated all of it. Hated all of it.
Because
hate dances because they're supposed to be fun, but if you don't have the perfect date, then it's not fun, and you have to look nice, which I don't care. And you gotta wear makeup, and you gotta look all good, and you're supposed to have a good time, right? But what if you hate your school? What if your school and the people there just stink?
And you don't go?
Yes, but what if your parents are forcing you to go?
Then you get new parents.
What if you can't do that at the moment?
What if you're Harry and we're talking about the book?
Hey, we're just pulling the
No.
conversation that you started. So yeah, the
context.
The Yule Ball itself, and what did you think of the way Harry and Ron went about finding dates?
They went about it terribly. They asked the most popular people in school and got immediately rejected from both of them.
Harry just seemed to have waited too long. If he wouldn't have waited,
Yeah.
it sounded like it probably would have gone much more successfully. Do you think?
Yeah. I feel like they should just shouldn't have waited. They should have just been like, quick, the good ones will go fast. Grab them. Ah.
So,
And I
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
And I didn't like that none of the girls asked. Like, the girls can ask.
Harry was asked by a third year and a fifth year,
And, like, 3 first years.
or something like that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
technically, we had a bunch of unnamed girls.
Yes, but
asking Harry.
he rejected all of them. Because he
Yeah, well,
was such a, like,
dumb boy.
waiting for the right person thing that I think is silly.
I think he was still frustrated with the whole idea of being put on display like this too. I mean,
Yeah.
again, he didn't ask for any of this, and two, like
Yeah.
he's gonna look even more ridiculous on a dance floor when he's already so intimidated by the other three champions. I mean, it's just not a good look for him, you know?
Yeah.
So I think he was frustrated with that, kind of just hoping he could boycott, even knowing that it wouldn't actually work. But
I'll
instead-
start a boycott on dances.
there you go.
I'll start that.
So,
Up.
on contrary to Harry and Ron, Hermione did pretty well for herself. What did you think of her going with Victor, or Vicky, as Ron ended up calling her?
Don't call him Vicky.
I think that she did very good for herself.
Do you approve of her going with Victor?
Yes and no.
Well, that's not an answer.
Well, no, that's a great answer. Let's talk about why you think both.
Yes, because he's a nice man. No, because it ruins hers and Ron's relationship as friends.
Do you think she knew it would, though?
Yes, because he's a fangirl of him.
So it's
He would
kinda
have
like
totally been like, Anna!
kind of like, oh, I like this band, and this musician started dating my girlfriend. Like, now I hate that band. Like, that's not cool.
Technically not girlfriend.
Started dating my friend that I potentially unbeknowingly like.
Spoilers much?
I think it's I don't know. I think it's pretty clear that there's tension between those two. It's always awkward between them. It's not the same as Harry and Hermione.
No,
No?
there's no tension or anything. Friend zone, boom, boom. Nothing else.
Okay. The way they reacted after the dance, I think maybe tells a different story.
But we're not after the dance. We're at the dance.
Well, we could be after the dance, too. The section had that as well.
Yes, but we are right now, currently at the dance. Right now.
Okay. Let's talk about what Harry and Ron did during the dance. Do you think they successfully did the dance like it's supposed to be done?
No. They danced for one, and then they just ran away, which is exactly what I would do. So, and just ditch their dates.
So you approve?
Also, yes and no. Yes, I approve because I would do that. No, because why would you just ditch your date like that? Like, that's just rude. I would not bring a date. I would just be, single Pringle and just run and not have to be like, oh, I'm next day of school, like, oh, I'm sorry. I ditched you. Like, that was rude. No, just go with friends. Freaking don't care about no boys.
Or girls, in their case.
Or girls. Don't care about no girls.
Yeah, I always wondered if Ron would have been better off if he had just not had a date at all.
I feel like they both would have been better off, because then they can go together and that'd be amazing. Like, it'd be like, hey, like, champions, come on up and dance with your partner. Harry and Ron come up and they're just having a freaking good old time. Like, they don't care what people think. They're just, like, grooving, man.
That's called going stag right there.
Yeah. I would totally do that.
And he would have gotten Ron an awesome, seat at the meal table, right? Sitting next to Dumbledore, and it would have been awesome. Get some Ron attention.
Yeah, Ron needs the attention. They had a breakup for a little bit because of that.
They did. That's true. Ron and Harry they were on a break for a bit.
Yeah. Where are on a break?
All right. So are we ready to be done with the dance?
I hate him. Yes.
Excellent. Let's talk about Hagrid.
Oh yeah, Hagrid's just a mess. like he's never been really like I guess like a problem, I guess. Like not really a problem, but like we've never like never mind, I don't know what I'm talking about. Yes, we have. We have had to take care of Hagrid.
Norbert.
Norbert all the time. With his pet spider and Norbert and other stuff, man. But like, I think he found his one true love, and it was beautiful. And then she just went off like, "These are big bones. I hate big bones." like, like I have just have big just have big bones.
Well, and then like Rita Skeeter was writing about it too.
Oh yeah, I hate her. I have a new hashtag. Ready for this? Hashtag hate Rita Skeeter. Hashtag hate Rita Skeeter. Cause I don't know, like why she does that. Like most of the time, reporters just report what they hear, but no, she has to make it interesting. Just make it factual, so then you'll ruin people's lives and everyone hates you. Hashtag hate Rita Skeeter so much. Hate her.
Right. Any other big thoughts you had about this particular section of chapters?
Stop breathing into your microphone. Okay, talk now.
Okay.
Like that.
I had
Your
nothing.
nose breathing is what I'm hearing
That better.
so far. Yeah.
So did you have any other big thoughts about this chapter?
No.
All right. So then are you ready for your 5 burning questions?
Mm-hmm.
You sound thrilled.
Yes, I'm tired. I want to go to bed.
Okay, then I'll ask them very slowly.
I swear.
You'll be fine. Question 1. Much like Dobby, would you like to call Dumbledore a barmy old codger?
Oh no. No. He is a great man. I would never want to call him that. So far, he is like the best. I love him. Because, like, he always makes the best jokes. And, like, I don't know. I love him. I love Dumbledore.
Okay. Question 2. Would Cho have chosen Harry over Cedric if Harry had asked first?
I bet, yeah. Because, like, he would have asked first. Like, sorry, first come, first serve.
So you don't think she would have turned him down?
No. If he
Anyway.
wasn't a baby and asked, like, the night before.
Okay.
Freaking heck.
All right, here we go. Question 3. What was Harry's best Christmas present this year? If you'd like, I can give you the list.
List, please.
Okay. Socks from Dobby. 1 was red with broomsticks and 1 was green with snitches. A single tissue. The book Quidditch Teams of Britain and Ireland. Some dung bombs. A penknife with attachments. A box of sweets. A green sweater with a dragon. And homemade mince pies.
Oh, definitely W with the socks, because those have, like, heart and soul in them, and money. Or the pies, because those are just nice for Miss Weasley.
Okay.
Nah, W socks. W socks. Those are adorable. They're just too cute.
Okay. Question number 4. We didn't really talk about this, but at one point, Rita Skeeter, when Hermione and Harry confront Rita at
Like you
3
fortune.
broomsticks.
Sorry, I'm done.
You're fine. That's fine. 3 broomsticks. They were like, oh, you're picking on Ludo Bagman. And Rita's like, dude, I know things about Ludo Bagman that would make your hair curl, right? So here's my question. What dirt did Rita have on Bagman? What does she know about him? What's your prediction?
I honestly have no idea. I feel like there can be millions and millions of things. Like, probably stuff that normal people can't even imagine.
Do you think it could just be nothing? Like, could she just be saying that to get at them for whatever Rita Skeeter reasons are, or do you think she actually has something?
I think she actually has something, because it's Rita. Like, she can find out anything, because I don't know how she freaking found out about Hagrid and that, but...
So you think Rita has something?
Yeah, I think Rita has something. It might not be as scary as, like, what she said, but I bet something.
Okay. Last one, question number 5. Were you surprised by the idea of mer people being introduced into the wizarding world in these chapters?
No. Because there was
Okay.
a freaking unicorn in the beginning. Of course there would be mer people. Like, that would just be crazy if there weren't mer people. Like, 100% I figured there were mer people.
So you're saying that if we had made it through the entire series and there weren't mer people, you would protest?
Yes. No,
Okay.
if there wasn't a unicorn, I would protest.
Mer people, you're just going to shake your head disapprovingly?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't really like mer people. I mean, like, they're fine, but, like, I never was like, about them. Like, oh my god, no.
And I
But
never
you
knew you were
expect
such
them to be
a
in.
murist.
Yeah, but like they're still cool, and like I would still like them to be there.
And they
Yeah.
are. Look at that.
Yay.
All right. Are you ready?
Hmm.
Next part. What, for your section superlatives, what was your favorite line?
Oh, I got this one then. Okay, so it says, "Oh, don't mind me," the fat lady called interrogatively after them. "Don't apologize for bothering me. I'll just hang here wide open until you get back. Shall I?" "Yeah, thanks," Ron shouted over his shoulder.
I think that was one that I had highlighted as a favorite line in that chapter as well. Such a great one.
Well, looky there.
Any particular reason why you chose that one?
I think it's just funny, and it's something that I would do.
Yeah, sure. Just sit there. Fine.
Perfect. That's great. That's exactly what I want.
Like,
Stuff
yeah,
like that.
you do that.
That does sound like you. You do that. All right. I have one last question for you.
Mhm.
Who was your section MVP?
I think it was Ron. Yes, Ron. I think it was Ron.
Okay, why?
Because he stood out for the team, you know? He took one for the team, man. He said, "Hey, sorry about, being a bad friend to you, Harry." And he was like, "It's cool." And then he was like, "Yeah, I'm on your side. Yay." And then everyone was like, "Yay." Now there's no more awkwardness.
Except with Hermione, but okay.
There's just always going to be awkwardness there. They're always just going to disagree. It's nothing no one can fix.
Okay.
Not even them.
All right. Well, I think that's all the time we are going to require from you. We thank you again for reading along with us and letting us know your take on this. But we're going to kick you out now, and we'll see you again in 6 weeks.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, now I'm actually going to bed.
All right. Welcome back to our first time reader, Riley.
Hey, what's going on? Glad to be back.
You made it. I'm glad. I
Yes.
was worried there for a minute.
Oh no, of course not.
He's never missed a single one.
I've never missed a single one.
Why start now, right?
Exactly.
Well,
We're
we are
literally
glad-
right at the halfway point of all of the books. This would be a bad time to make that trend.
Yeah.
All right. So to kick us off there, Riley, what were your overall thoughts of this middle of the middle section?
Yeah. So, this was a pretty interesting section. I was kind of sad that we were like in between tasks a little bit. You know, we come from that first task and we're building up to the second task, obviously. But we did get to see a lot of cool color around Hogwarts. We got to see a lot more of the kind of social aspect of the Triwizard Tournament, which was awesome. We got to see the whole dance, and we just learned a lot more about, I think, maybe not learned a lot more, but we got to know more of characters that aren't the main three. You know, we learned more about students that are in Harry's class and in the rest of the school and even the other schools. So it was just kind of a cool section to get a look at some of the behind the scenes stuff, even like actually the behind the scenes stuff with like the kitchen we get to early on. And it was interesting. We got to see a lot of different stuff this section.
Yeah, I really like the way you put, we get some more of the social aspect of the school. And I think that's something that kind of gets overlooked when you look at all of the action and heroics and just friend stuff between the trio and like the Weasleys. Like, I think one of the things that gets kind of forgotten about is how well developed the other characters around the school are. And, even just these little interactions of the other girls coming up to Harry and his
Right.
interactions there. And so I'm glad you kind of picked up on that, because that's something that always stands out to me as like interesting and just well written. So I'm glad you picked up on that.
Yeah.
So what else
So
really jumped out to you? Kind of either with the dance itself, or some of the big pieces of information we get around or about the dance.
Right. So, the dance in particular, I thought was interesting. Especially like leading up to the dance. And just the second chapter's title in this section is the unexpected task, and I love that that was like it was a really good description of what was going on. Like Harry and Ron, like they had to find a date, and it was so funny because I don't know, I remember like feeling that way when I was like in high school and middle school, like, oh, I gotta find a date to this dancer. I gotta, do something. And it's such like you're in your own head and it's so unimportant, but it feels like the most important thing in the world. So it was just super relatable. And then like when Harry finally asks Cho out, like he figures out that he waited too long, and I think that that's interesting that she's going with Cedric, and we get this whole, Harry had decided that he liked Cedric already by then, and now he like flipped back, and he's like really, really upset, and I
Now
just think
hold on
it's
just a minute there, Mr. Cedric. I'm not
yeah,
friends with you anymore.
exactly. It's so funny to me. I don't know. I would do that. I feel like I'd feel the same way, but I don't know. I feel like we got a lot more relatableness out of Harry this section. He's just a normal kid. Yeah, he obviously had a crazy childhood growing up, like awful, and but now that he's kind of come into his own and these few years at Hogwarts already, he's like, people are liking him around school now, and like girls are asking him, and he's dealing with that as he's growing up. It's just super relatable, and I guess that's maybe he's getting older too. That's why I feel like I'm relating to him more because I'm not reading it as like the target audience for those early three books. You know what I mean? But I definitely feel more relatable, or that Harry is more relatable now than he ever has been.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good catch. Especially, I mean, it wasn't all that long that you were in high school when
No,
we're
no,
doing
not at
some of
all.
these things. So I mean, even in your college days, which are very current, I'm sure there are certain things where you're kind of obligated to do things, and you're like, man, this is like not a big deal. Why does this feel like a big deal? Like just in the moment of it,
Right.
you're just frustrated by the fact that I have to care about this. Ugh.
Oh, another big part of this section, my favorite character, Dobby, comes back. Oh,
That's
yes,
right.
I have been waiting for you to mention that. And
yeah.
like even reading this book, I was like, he comes back. I can't wait for Riley.
He was better though. He was
Okay.
better. He wasn't completely annoying, and his like times where he's like, I don't know when he's like bangs his head against the wall, like yeah, kind of makes sense. Like, but I like that. Oh, and it's just that whole scene in the kitchen is so funny because we start to realize that Hermione's kind of like giving up on Spew a little bit. Not giving up, she still is dedicated to it, but she like is realizing that none of the elves actually want to be free. Like we see Winky being so upset over just being free, and she's like, I would never get paid. Like that's just ridiculous. It's unheard of. And the fact that that's just getting shoved in Hermione's face, I think that's so funny. Even though we've already had this conversation about how she's right, like technically she's right, but in this story, it's just really funny that that's the way that it is played out.
Were you surprised at all by the way the either Winky or the other Hogwarts, we'll say standard Hogwarts unnamed elves, uh, were acting?
Not really, because we've been continually told by other characters that she's wrong, and that house elves love what they do, and they don't have a problem with it. So I wasn't really surprised at all. I think it's funny. I think the reason why I liked Dobby being back in the story is that the other elves felt the exact same way that I did about him, and so it was like enjoyable.
So if you are thinking about Dobby in the kitchen and then Dobby at Christmas,
Right.
in Harry's room. Do you have like, does it change again when he's on Harry's bed Christmas morning, or does that fit with your new "I hate Toppy less" trend?
I don't. It didn't really bother me that much because yeah, it's weird, but I expect him to be weird now, and also it's kind of that little like even though I don't have a little brother, I feel like it's like that lovable little brother being annoying, kind of like he's gonna do something stupid that you just kind of have to shrug off and even though I don't have tell him like, brother, hey, like just tap me next time to wake me up. Like, don't lean over me. What are you doing? So I didn't think it was a bother at all, and it was kind of cute, to see him so excited about the ratty socks that Harry gave him, and it was just kind of nice. So I don't think the Christmas Dobby stuff made me upset at all. It was just like a little, just throw in there a little like spice to the story, I guess.
So, do you have anything else in that first chapter, chapter 21, that you really wanted to chat about?
Um, Rita Skeeter's still around. I hate her. Not really too much. Like we get an owl sent to Sirius. We're waiting for that to come back in this chapter. Most of that's just the kitchen stuff. I think that's the majority of what kind of happened in that chapter.
Yeah. So then, chapter 22. What are your big thoughts here? Anything new, interesting?
So the big interesting things for me is like, oh, Harry's a ladies' man now. Is it just because he's famous? I thought that was interesting that he was kind of like dealing with that in his own head.
Mm-hmm.
And then this was like kind of a funny. I think this is the chapter I was talking about, like leading up, trying to find a date. So it's just a really funny chapter. Like Ron just asking Fleur, like out of nowhere, and just like blind confidence, and he feels like it's like the end of the world that he did that. But I think that was super funny. And then one thing that like stuck out to me was the WWN, the Wizard Wireless Network, and I think I'm curious what year did this book came out, because I feel like around this time is when I guess the internet started to become more and more accessible. So that's probably why it was thrown in here. I just thought that was funny that I guess or the Wizards do have some kind of wireless network or something. So I think that's funny.
Well, I always took it as a radio
Yeah.
channel.
Oh,
Wireless in Britishisms is typically radio
okay.
on the
Okay.
wireless.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yes.
Well, that's so cool though.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Just
speaking,
as excited.
I don't want to. If you have anything else on this chapter, I don't want to cut you off on it, but I have
Mhm.
thoughts in the next chapter that I want you to talk about.
Sure. Yeah, I don't have much more for this chapter.
So we'll get back to the lead up to the Yule Ball itself. Getting ready and all that. I mean, that was also Christmas morning, right? Which we kind of already touched on. But at the Yule Ball, the Weird Sisters, the Wizard
yeah.
rock band. What are your thoughts?
So I don't remember a lot. I don't have a lot of details written down about them. I know they were wearing like fur coats or something like that, or like a lot of feathers, like
One
long
was
hair.
described as being very hairy. I know
Yeah,
that's
okay,
true.
okay. I just think the name is awesome. And I don't know if it was written in the story. I don't know if I missed this part, but I really hope that they're all guys and their name is the Weird Sisters, because that would be really funny to me. I don't know why. I just think that'd be a great name for like a bunch of dudes. But even if they are all chicks, like that's great. Like I just think the name's super funny.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just knowing your love for music, were you surprised by seeing, a wizard rock group, or even just the introduction of rock, in the wizarding world?
I guess I was a little surprised that rock would have been chosen for like a ball like this. I would just imagine, like, because everything at Hogwarts is so traditional, right? Like in like a lot of it's rooted in history, and like I feel like there's a lot of traditions that are like continued from like older times. But so like I would expect it to be like a pianist, or like a classical ball, like a gala with somebody like playing traditional music or like some old wizarding music. But I think it's awesome that there's a wizard rock band, and I wonder how their wizarding abilities, if those musicians are wizards, how does that affect their play? Like, can is it just like they're all there on stage and their instruments are in on stands and they're just like using their wands and they're like
Right.
dancing? You know
Independently
what I
play.
mean? Yeah, like they're not actually playing it, like they're just like using magic. Like, or I bet they have a killer light show, you know?
Right? Yeah, I would imagine they could pull that off pretty easily. So
Right.
what it actually says is a set of drums, several guitars, a lute, a cello, and some bagpipes were up on the platform. And
There we
the
go.
Weird Sisters now trooped up onto the stage to wildly enthusiastic applause. They were all extremely hairy and dressed in black robes that had been
Yeah.
artfully ripped and torn. They picked up their instruments, and Harry, who had been so interested in watching them, that he had almost forgotten what was coming, suddenly realized that the lanterns and all the tables had gone out, and yada yada yada. So they start
Yeah,
playing,
it's
but
a good dance.
yeah. So it's a solid band ensemble: drums, guitars, lute, cello, bagpipes.
But the bagpipes, like those things are, that's loud, and it's
Yeah,
already like okay. That's
but
all.
bagpipes are one of the coolest sounding instruments that
I'm
exist.
not disagreeing with you, but they're very cool from a distance.
It's in the
Great
Great
Hall,
Hall.
they're great.
Great Hall's fairly big.
Maybe they engorged it, like did a expanding charm just
Maybe
for
they
the
have maybe the bagpipes have a mute on it, like a trumpet mute.
yeah.
Well,
Okay.
maybe the enchanted ceiling has some dampening effect. Has some
Oh, yeah.
acoustical treatment to it.
Well, aren't there frozen icicles that are up there? I'm sure that affects acoustics a little bit.
It should bounce it around a bit. Yeah.
Right. Diffuse the sound.
So the other kind of interesting thing that we get going into the ball is Hermione's looks are talked about quite a bit, right?
Right.
And were you surprised that nobody realized who she was until it was like, "Hi, I'm Hermione, your best friend for the last 4 years."
Right. Well, okay, so here's the thing. We later learned we learned during this chapter that Hermione was shrinking her teeth with Madame Pomfrey. So that's going to change her, not just the way her teeth look, but her facial structure, right? So that's not a surprise. And she used hair straightening stuff that made her hair look not curly. So, I mean, if you're not really, really paying attention, I could see
To
it.
your best friend.
But she was gone the whole time. She was missing for 2 days.
3 hours.
Well, same
No,
thing.
I'm saying it's a long time.
Yeah. So
I need more girls for this argument. Go on.
I don't know. I don't think that it was a good thing that they didn't notice her. Like, especially when when anybody spends a long time, look really nice for a dance. Like, you want your friends to say, "Oh my gosh, you look really nice. It's good to see you." So it's kind of uh rough that happens to her in that way. But also, her and Ron kind of they were making me very upset in this chapter. Just because of the way they are treating each other. Like, it was such a dumb thing for both of them to be upset about until there was no problem until they just made it a problem for each other in terms of who she went with.
So
So
you think it's a mutual problem.
I do, because she could have just said, "I'm going with Victor Crumb," and then Ron might have been upset when he found out, but I'm sure he would have gotten over it by the time. Like, he got over it in a day anyways afterwards. So if she would have just told him prior, he wouldn't have been upset during the dance, and it would have went way better. I feel like.
The shock of it, you're thinking, is a big part of
Yeah.
the frustration or whatever this is.
Right.
I
So
can see that.
okay. I'm gonna move on from that one.
Okay.
Okay, so after the dance, Harry and Ron, I guess during the dance, Harry and Ron kind of ditched their dates, which was well done, I guess. So
Right.
whatever that was. But they find themselves walking around out in the garden. We find out a couple things. We have an interesting conversation with Snape and Karkaroff, and an interesting conversation with Maxime and Hagrid. Which one would you like to
Right.
chat about? Either of them?
Yeah, I think the Haggard half giant stuff's pretty interesting, and the fact that he was, kind of dumb enough to just say that out loud about Madame Maxime and not realize that it was going to offend her. I think that was funny, but Also, like, I see his point of view that we get later on when he, after like that story comes out in the next chapter or whatever, when he's like, "Why can't you just accept who you are? Like, it's not a problem." But she may actually not be a giant too, which is funny. Like, she may just like not be, which is unlikely. But I don't know. I just think it's funny that he was just like so dead set. Like, he never. The thought was never in his head like, "Oh, I probably shouldn't have just like assumed that and jumped to the conclusion." It was just like, "I know I'm right. And this girl's being ridiculous for not just accepting who she is."
He took his jump to conclusion Matt out and used it.
Yeah.
The guy made $1 million. But yeah, like, but we know one of Hagrid's kind of attributes or characteristics is trusting. He seems to be pretty trusting pretty often, right? And so when he finds this seemingly similar person with a similar background to him, probably the first person he's ever met that even comes close to fitting this description, I am not surprised that Hagrid is is jumping to the, okay, I'm just gonna go out on a limb, just gonna go right out and for it, because guess what? She likely is in the same boat as me if it's true. So
because she's the Brienne to his Tormund.
Let's say Hound. Let's say Sandor, because Tormund just needs to stay in the north.
Okay, all right.
No crossovers.
Oh,
except for tomorrow.
That's true. If you're seeing this live right now, hello. Tomorrow night we are doing Drinks and Those Things crossover with Hogwarts Radio, sorting Game of Thrones characters into Hogwarts houses. So,
oh, that's so fun.
Please join us for that if we're live streaming. I don't know. We're around. There's a lot going on.
And if you're listening to us Sunday morning when this comes out on a podcast, go listen to either of those shows on a podcast when that episode comes out.
Download that episode now.
Right.
You can find it.
It's available. All right. So, yeah, did anything jump out to you with Karkaroff and Snape, or just kind of, they're being weird?
Something jumped out. I don't know, like, I don't have a specific thing, like, oh, this is what I thought, other than just, like, the fact that there is something going on. Like, there's some kind of relationship that I don't know about. And I'm starting to get this hunch that the people that are pinned by Harry and Ron and the people around them that are the bad guys are like doing shady stuff are usually the ones not actually in the wrong. I don't know if that's true every time, but that seems like a little bit of a theme. And so I'm going to go ahead and say that like Snape and Karkaroff like knew each other. And they're probably like in cahoots on something, but I don't think it's as like vile or evil as what Harry like and what Sirius is saying, you know.
Like maybe they had a silkscreen t-shirt company together that went bottoms up.
Sure. Yeah, probably. Okay. That's probably it.
It's a very 90s thing.
Yeah.
I can see that happening.
I like this theory. I think we can I think I can get behind that.
Don't blame the bad guy because he's not really the bad guy because Harry's an unreliable narrator.
Yes.
I don't think that'll fit on a t-shirt, but that idea.
We'll try.
My busted tea.
All right, so Hagrid kind of goes into hiding after Rita Skeeter's scoop comes out. You know, somehow she finds out about this conversation where Hagrid talks about being a giant.
Before we even get into that, there's one last thing that happens in the chapter is where Cedric tells Harry about the egg in the bath.
Hey, go take a bath.
And that's like, that leads to his whole, I'm not going to trust you, blah, blah, blah. But, yeah, that's just like an important thing at the end of the chapter. I don't really have anything else to say about it, but we obviously get into that later.
Okay. Yeah. No, it's a good catch. I was forgetting about that portion.
Yeah, it's okay.
I like that it kind of sets up, his frustration over the next chapters, and it just builds on top of each other, especially with the Rita Skeeter stuff that we get, and they go to Hogsmeade, right? And there's just all sorts of fun stuff with. With Hermione being in a tiff and rushing back to Hagrid's hut. Take it away on whatever you want to chat about there. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, so early on we obviously find out that Hagrid is not teaching, and we find out by getting introduced to the best name in the series so far, Professor Grubbly Plank.
You're a fan of that one as well, huh?
Yeah, I was just
seems to be a theme.
Is that really her name? Like, really?
Well, maybe she married into it, you know?
Yeah, it's got to be. I guess she might have been Professor Plank and then got married to Mr. Grubbly. So now she's
Grub.
Professor Grubbly Plank.
See, my question is this. Is this a real person's name that JK pulled? Because if so, like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Or just like, hey, these words sound cool.
This can't be a real name.
I don't know.
Okay.
If you have a last name of Grubbly Plank, please write us at notnamedpodcast on Twitter and notnamedpodcast@gmail.com.
Prove me wrong.
Prove Riley wrong.
We also get to learn more. So as we're finding out about this whole ordeal going on with Hagrid, and like why he's gone, what's going on in the Gita's story, we find out about Friedwulfa, who is Hagrid's giant mother,
Mm-hmm.
who I didn't know about. And I wasn't aware that being a giant was ever a problem. So I obviously kind of was on the side with Hermione. I like assumed that he was probably not just a tall guy. Like he probably was some kind of half breed. And yeah, I just thought it was interesting that that was such a big deal for like some of the public. But it's also nice, like that we learn later when Dumbledore and the gang are trying to convince him to come back. We learn that, yeah, while there's some people that are upset about it, there's a lot of like parents and past students and stuff that are supporting Hagrid and writing to Dumbledore and stuff.
That's kind of a really good, thing to take away anytime you get any kind of feedback or criticism. Right. Yeah, the things that stand out to you are always going to be the negative criticisms, right? Those always seem to be the ones that you remember. But 90% of the time, you're completely ignoring all of the pats on the back that you did get. Like, hey, I like when you did this. I appreciate that. So, good on the four of them, the trio and Dumbledore, to kind of help Hagrid see that.
Yeah.
But they also didn't, like, shame him into accepting it. They kind of helped him see it by just kind of telling him the way it is, and right. I thought it was well done by all four of them.
Yeah, I agree. And kind of taking a little step back before that, we're in Hogsmeade, and we do get this like confrontation with Harry and Rita Skeeter, and or Harry and Hermione and Rita Skeeter, and I just think it's interesting. Like, I feel like, yes, she has blown up in the past. Like, she obviously hit Malfoy in the face like last year. But other than that, I don't think Hermione lets her emotions run away from her very often, especially like in public. So I just thought it was really interesting to see her like just ream into Rita and just tell her the business. I thought that was really cool to see.
Especially considering she's like a 15-year-old girl, right, who's giving it to a grown person, an adult. So that's not something you would expect from rule-abiding Hermione.
Right.
Except for when she goes in that mode, man. It's happened a couple times.
It does happen a couple times.
So watch out. When she feels justified, watch out.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah, and then another interesting thing, like kind of the last big thing that I have about this section in Hogsmeade is obviously the Bagman stuff, like him trying to convince Harry to let him help with the clues. Like, I definitely think that that's a little shady. And we find out that Barty Crouch is missing. So, like, what's going on here? There's obviously something crazy going on.
Like, usually it's the kids having crazy stuff. This time we got crazy grown-ups.
Yeah.
Do you think that's just the kids getting old enough to, like, be around long enough to hear those things?
Yes.
I think so, because we talked about this a couple months ago when we did the first chapters, and we were at the World Cup, right? And we see, like, we saw them starting to realize some of the interesting relationships that the grown-ups around them had now. So, and I think we talked about that then. So I definitely agree that it's probably them just starting to get old enough to realize that all these
perception is growing along with the story.
Well,
yeah, I think so.
Think about it. There are first years at Hogwarts right now who are clueless.
Mm-hmm.
When all of this is going on, there's first years just doing first year things with other first years. They're not
dealing with three-headed dogs. They're dealing with giant chessboards. That's just every first year goes through it.
Yeah.
Right. Devil's Snare, locked doors. They're busy.
Oh my gosh, that was so long ago.
I know, right? That really does feel like forever ago. Like, it feels like that many school years ago at this point.
And then Another like the last really crazy thing that I have written down is all of my notes says is goblins exist now question mark and they're very scary.
Goblins have been
What?
around since the beginning.
Oh wait, goblins are the banking guys,
Yeah.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mer
See,
people exist now.
yeah,
One
yeah.
one final thing on that chapter 24 that I want to really just kind of mention that I don't think Melissa and I even spent much time on it, but the mention of Hagrid's father, I just think is kind of cute. You know, it's just like a nice little him thinking about his dad, and his dad just seemed like a totally just decent dude, right?
Right.
And he just died young. It's just like think of the difference that Hagrid would have if his dad was still around, kind of thing.
Yeah, he probably wouldn't be so gullible, you know? Like,
Sure, I think that's pretty reasonable. I mean, he
Well,
pretty much got taken in by Dumbledore at that point, from what we're
right,
hearing, right?
that's what I was going to say. I bet he wouldn't even work at Hogwarts because he would have had his dad.
Mm-hmm.
right,
Yeah. So just shout out to Mr. Hagrid.
right.
So then we do have chapter 25,
hmm
which is called
The egg and the
the
key.
egg and the eye. So some really interesting scenes here. Harry goes to take a bath, right?
Mhm.
So let's just start there. Go
Yeah.
for it.
So it's interesting that Harry gets into the prefect bathroom and it's really nice, and I think that's funny. I could just when he was like describing like how nice it is and like the soaps and things that they have, like I could the first thing I thought of was like Percy living it up in here last year. You know what I mean? Like he's just like, oh, this is my bathroom. Like we get the nice one. It's great being a prefect. Like I just that was the first thing that I imagined. I was like, of course they have this nice bathroom.
I like to think that the head boy and head girl have their own specific bathrooms too. Like
Right,
they can use this one still, but they do have their own as well.
probably.
Well, and I've kind of decided that there's probably like times, like the boy time is from this hour to this hour, and the girl time is from this hour to that hour too. So then the prefects need a bathroom because what if they're working during their allotted time?
Right.
Like the head boy and girl need their own if they're working during the allotted time. I meant.
I'm interested. I wonder. So we Harry's obviously in the bathtub and he's trying to figure it out. But Moaning Myrtle comes out, right? But I'm wondering why she's there and how she's able to be there. I guess we find out that she's able to travel around, right? Because she talks about how she haunted the girl who found her body.
Olive Hornby.
Yeah. So I guess she like is able to leave, but she just chooses to stay in her bathroom most of the time.
Well, the first time we met her was at the Death Day party in one of the dungeons.
Oh, okay.
Back in book 2. So that was, remember, because Hermione was trying really hard to avoid her, and then Peeves totally called Hermione out on her avoidance, and it didn't go well.
Sure.
So she can leave. We've had a lot of discussions on
We have.
does that mean she is bound within like the realm of Hogwarts in general?
I don't think so because she talked about how she was at that girl's wedding.
I mean, because of that. Because
So the Olive Hornby went to the Ministry of Magic, and it basically states that like I haunted her until she got the Ministry involved, and so it sounded like there was some kind of paranormal restraining order put on Myrtle,
Right.
which
Right.
we're really just theorizing, hypothesizing more than anything
Mhm.
of like, well, is she now bound to just the Hogwarts grounds? Is there like a
Could be.
proximity that she has to remain away from Olive Hornby, so she just chooses to be at Hogwarts? Like, just a lot of questions that we've been having ourselves.
Definitely could be. Yeah, that's interesting.
And I think even just bringing up the Olive Hornby thing in the book in general, I think kind of makes you question how do ghosts work, which we're not going to delve
Right.
into, but yeah, I mean, a lot of times you think of haunt, you know, it's like a specific place that is haunted, not like, oh, there's just ghosts, free roam ghosts, you know,
Right.
grass fed. You know, it's free range ghosts,
All terrain ghosts.
all terrain ghosts, ATGs.
Yeah, ATGs.
will travel.
Have ghost will travel. We're terrible. All right, Riley, the floor is yours. What else do you got here?
Yeah, so but it's good that Myrtle's here because she pretty much helps Harry 100% in this task to help figure it out.
Is it as
Uh,
much help as Moody gave before, though?
I don't know. I think it's a different scenario because Moody is a teacher and he shouldn't be involved. Uh, but Myrtle is just a bystander, you know, and she just observed something and told him like what to do.
She probably has no idea what the tournament is or
Yeah.
that it's even going on.
Right.
That's pretty fair.
Technically, she's a has-been.
Yeah.
That's her
true.
official classification.
Yeah.
But we learn about the mer people under the water that we kind of mentioned earlier. So we know those exist and they're in the lake. What else?
Then we leave the bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much. I was gonna say that's pretty much all we have in the bathroom. I think it's funny how every time Harry was like standing up, he was always like, "Make sure your eyes are covered." I don't know. I just think that's such like a. It makes sense. Obviously, it's just so funny that was written in every time and how deliberate that was. I thought it was goofy, but
because that's exactly what a kid would do.
Right.
Exactly what any person would do if there's another being.
Right.
Using that term loosely.
But you're right. We do leave the bathroom after this, and Harry makes his trek back. But we see Barty Crouch is in Snape's office, and he's been missing. And so, what's going on? No theory on this at all. I don't know what is happening, and then we don't even get to investigate it because this whole ordeal goes down where Harry gets caught in something, right? Or like gets stuck and he drops his egg.
In the trick stare that Neville always forgets.
Yeah. So he drops the egg and it opens, of course, and he's trying to be quiet. Now his loud thing is screaming up the hallways, and Filch is there, and then Snape's there. And
hey Riley, what do you think the egg sounds like when it opens up?
Oh, I imagine it's a mixture between like train braking on the tracks like for an extended period of time and like a power chord from a guitar.
Okay. Right. I was thinking it's more like an air horn, just burr, 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 burr. But I like the train screeching because I believe it was called screeching, high, shrill, and shrieking. So I like your train.
That's just how I like imagine. It's just the most annoying sound.
Can I say layered on top of that? I agree with you. I think those sounds are there, but also the sound of somebody stepping on bagpipes.
Okay.
You know that idea, just like all the way, like it's
the diaphragm. Yeah.
So it's all of those layered.
Also, you know how when there's like a cop car and their sirens on, there's that one high note that like it hits for like a second and it comes down. That it's like I can't wait for this part of the alarm to go away. I feel like it's that too, like constantly.
Well, and like the Star Wars battleships, like the zooming sound they use, like the high pitched ones, like those kinds of sounds.
Yeah,
should be in there, not the cool lightsaber sounds, but the high pitched, like
the TIE fighter sounds.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Going through the Star Wars movies this week, actually, that's been fun.
So I guess we get into this whole ordeal, and they're trying to figure it out, what's going on, and Filch is trying to pin it on Peeves, which is funny, and lucky for Harry because it easily is not Peeves. Like that's such a dumb conclusion to jump to, but then Moody comes, and we find out that Harry's there, and we find out that they know, and then Moody saves him. Snape's about to grab him, right? And Moody is on his side, and he helps him out, and he convinces Snape to walk away. He kind of threatens him a little bit, so we get more of that, some kind of tension between Moody and Snape going on, which is interesting. I don't know. I like seeing that develop. I'm interested to see where that'll go and like why there's this divide between the two.
I have one more thought. Melissa, tell me if this is one of the burning questions that you have, so stop me if it is. But, like, do you think Harry would have just been fine if he, like, didn't throw the invisibility cloak over him and just, like, said, like, yeah, it's mine, like, sorry, I was working on it. Like, do you think there'd be any issue with him just being honest there?
I think so.
Why?
Because you're not supposed to be out, right?
He's Harry. He's a champion.
And he's a champion.
He's literally doing the thing he's supposed to be doing.
He's exempt from all other exams for this.
He doesn't have to care about school. He's a champion.
Yeah, I guess.
That's really my point of, like, this is like the one time where Harry could just, like, not walk around with a guilty conscience and just be like, oops. And, like, yeah, Filch is going to try to get him in trouble, but it's going to go nowhere. Like, even Snape would just be like, 10 points from Gryffindor. And that would have been it.
Yeah. I suppose. I don't know. I feel like I would be scared still if I was Harry.
I would too.
I wouldn't have taken it off.
But Luke would have. Like
I'm
he would have been
saying
like,
not even put
whatever.
it on. I'm like definitely keep the invisibility like hidden.
Like you would not have put it on like when the egg was wailing. You would have just left it off.
Yeah, because guess what? Come at me. Like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Anyway,
I think the biggest thing is that he didn't close the map.
I think
more
that's pretty
so
fair. I think that's
more so than dropping the egg and being around, is just having that map and
Okay,
not
that brings me
closing
to
it.
my issue.
Yeah.
Luke's issue is Harry shouldn't have hidden. My issue is Harry just mastered the charm to bring things to you, the Accio charm.
Summoning charm.
Right, the summoning charm.
Yeah.
Just summon the egg in the map, do you?
If you
have
read
a wand.
he's literally trying to use his wand to grab it, to like use it like a stick and pull it closer to him. It's great.
I'm really I'm letting this go.
That's a little of a character hole, I feel like, just to make this scene happen.
Mm-hmm.
I felt the same way. Like,
and it's only because we're reading it slowly.
Yeah.
I've never felt like this before, but now I'm like, this is the most blatant ignoring of magic skills I've seen yet.
Right. And then, I mean, we get this conversation at the end with Moody and Harry, and we learn, one of the last lines that's really interesting that we get left with is, the thing that makes me, he says, like, something that makes me upset is whenever a Death Eater walks free, and so who is he talking about? Is he talking about Snape? It's an interesting thought. I think that he might be.
You think he is?
See, like, this goes back to I think that we're being pinned to think this, but I don't believe that it's true yet.
Okay, so we're supposed to think it's Snape, but you don't necessarily think it's really Snape. You just think we're supposed to think it's Snape.
Yeah,
you're calling the bluff, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So are we ready?
I think so.
Here we go for your 5 burning questions.
Let's do it.
Question 1. Would you like to call Dumbledore a barmy old codger?
No, I'd probably use different words that I can't say if I was
because there are
upset.
children's toys around.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, Woody.
I'd probably have less choice words.
But you would still use like the idea of I'm allowed to insult him even though I respect him because he gives me that right.
Yeah, sure. If I would definitely mess around with him.
That's a loving jab.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If
Fred and George.
Yeah. If Dumbledore allowed me to do that, I'd make use of it.
Okay. Question 2. Would Cho have chosen Harry over Cedric if Harry had asked first?
I think so. Because I don't necessarily think she chose Cedric over Harry, because I don't feel like she knew that she was going to be asked by either one. So I feel like had Harry asked first, she probably would have said yes. And just the way that she apologized like so much, it seemed like she was at least interested in making him feel like she wasn't trying to be rude,
Okay. Question 3. What was Harry's best Christmas present this year? I can give you the list if you need it.
I remember some of them, but give me the list, yeah.
Okay. Socks from Dobby. One was red with broomsticks and one was green with snitches. A single tissue. The book Quidditch Teams of Britain and Ireland. Dung bombs. A penknife with attachments. A box of sweets. A green sweater with a dragon. And homemade mince pies.
Right. I think the penknife is cool. I think that's probably the most practical thing. The book of Quidditch Teams is also interesting.
Okay.
I want to give an honorable mention to the single tissue. Even a new low for the Dursleys is how it's described.
Hey,
just love it.
They sent something.
It's true.
It's something. They always say it's the thought that counts.
What thought is that really displaying, though?
They thought about him. It counts.
Okay. Question number 4. What dirt does Rita Skeeter have on Ludo Bagman?
Oh my gosh, who knows? Like, probably a lot. Like, the guy seems like an open book, and he doesn't seem like an average guy. I think it's less. I don't think it's like enact dirt. You know what I mean? I don't think it's like, oh, I know that he did this one time and it's awful. I don't think it's that. I think it's probably just like something about the way that he is, or like the way that he grew up. And like she'd probably like similar to the Hagrid, like, oh, he's a half giant. Like everybody, think about that. Everybody know that. Here's this little piece of dirt on him. I feel like it'd be something like similar to that.
I
Like
very
rumor
much
mill
like
type
that
stuff.
theory, that
Yeah.
idea.
That's
Yeah.
good. All right. Last one. Were you surprised by the idea of mer people being introduced to this world? Because this chapter was the very first time we heard about mer people in the wizarding world.
I will say that I'm probably never going to be surprised at a new creature that's introduced.
Okay.
Am I surprised that they are in the lake? Yes.
Okay.
But that they exist? No. Like, there's probably aliens in this world. Like, I have no idea. Like, who knows what's coming next?
All right.
I know what's coming next.
I do too. I've read it before, but it's like Fight Club.
Right.
All right. So now we're going to move into your section, superlatives.
Sure.
What was your favorite line?
So my favorite line was actually a pretty short one, but it comes in the last chapter, The Egg in the Eye, and it's on page 459 when, let me find it, when Harry is heading to the prefect bathroom. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, so yeah, he located the right door, leaned in close to it, and muttered the password, Pine Fresh.
Yes.
I just thought that was so funny. Like that's what honestly that password is what led me to the whole Percy thing and thinking about the bathroom, because like I could just imagine like him Percy running to the bathroom and being
Pine
pine
fresh.
pine fresh and like
Pine fresh.
takes his ascot off as he walks in. Like
puts his shower cap on.
yeah.
Reminds me of
got, like-
the captain in Mulan when he goes or the
Yeah.
Yes.
not the captain but
Not
the
the captain, but
accountant guy,
The
Yeah,
advisor.
advisor. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
He's got like a long scrubbing like back brush
Yeah.
with him.
Yeah.
And a dressing robe.
And
Yeah.
sandals and yeah.
Mhm.
100%. Yeah, that's just like that line just made me think about so many funny things about this bathroom. So
Clearly also a rubber duck.
yeah.
What exactly is the function? All right.
Rubber duck.
Who was your your section MVP?
Ooh, this was a tough one. It should be Harry, but we're not doing that. I thought for a while, I thought about everybody in it, right? And I was like, is it Ron? Well, Ron and Harry are finally friends now, but Ron honestly adds, a lot of drama and a lot of problems in this section, and he was funny and good, but like he didn't really do much to benefit Harry's quest as a champion, aside from just being a friend to support. Hermione was kind of the same way. Like she was there to support Harry and like helped him out a little bit, but she also had her own things going on that kind of like added to the drama and the problems in this section. And then I was thinking about Moody and like how he actually helped and like supported him, especially in that last scene. But I don't think he did much other than that in this section either. So I'm left to one character who, at every time they were on screen, like every time they were in the scene, they benefited other people around them, specifically Harry and Ron, and that's Fred. Fred, in the first chapter, tells them about the doors to the kitchen, which leads us to that. He also, and this is the best thing, tells them that they need to go get a date. And then they're like, well, who are you taking? And he goes, I forget what the girl's
Oi.
name is.
Oi, Angelina.
Oi, Angelina, you want to go with me? Like, it's just so perfect. Like, yeah, just ask somebody. Like, come on, get out and just go do it. It's not a problem. I just thought,
And then he models the correct behavior.
Yeah, exactly. He's dancing at the dance, and he's being over exuberant or whatever. Both of them are, and they're having a good time. And I just think, I don't know, Fred did nothing wrong, and he only helped them, and he did good this time.
Fred, you
All
done
right.
good.
Yep.
Good job, Fred.
Well, that's I think all we've got for you this set of chapters here, Riley. Thank you again for joining us.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun. Can't wait to get to the last few tasks. We're getting closer to the end of the book, so it's exciting to see what the story's going to wrap up on.
And like I said, we are halfway through this book, which sometimes feels like the longest, but we have more longer books coming up too.
Great.
So I'm glad you're sticking with us, and we will see you again in 6 weeks.
Awesome. I can't wait. Thanks again, guys.
Well, Luke, I feel like that wraps us up for our recap episode this week.
For once, I agree with you.
And we're remembering to do a closing.
Yeah, I know, right?
Good job. First time in book 4. So,
Is it the first time in book 4?
5.
It's not just, Luke's adding one because he's editing it and it wasn't done. So here it is.
But here we go. You should follow us on Twitter at Not Named Podcast. You will find typically me, but sometimes Luke, and every once in a while somebody random taking over the account because, life. This, your digital owls at notnamedpodcast@gmail.com. You can find us and all of our shows at thepodcastthat.com, where you can access not only each of our shows, but also our very own Harry Potter blog written by the amazing Gretchen. Check out her blog posts that she has for us for this show and all our shows, along with our Support Us page.
Be sure to like, subscribe, and rate and leave comments on iTunes. Don't forget to go to YouTube as well. Check us out there. We have been live stream recording most of our episodes lately, so we can look at you and smile and wave to you in the live chat, right? Like we're doing right now. Thank you guys for joining us in the live chat. It's always so much fun having you guys chit-chat with us. Leave us comments on those YouTube videos as well. Make sure you subscribe there as well and get your notifications so you know when we go live next time. Listen to this Not Named podcast on Radio Public. It is free, it is easy to use, and it does help listeners like you find and support shows just like this one. When you listen to our show on Radio Public's Android or iOS app, everyone benefits.
Join us next week for chapter number 26.
The second task. Stay imaginary.
Thanks.